I'm just trying to decide if I'm comfortable even talking about that.
This one's wife. Are her supporters narcissists? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Most of you understand that this one's wife is a narcissist. After all, I established this years ago ahead of everybody else and provided cogent reasons based on the evidence as to why she is. I'm pleased to see that more and more people are now grasping the fact that she is a narcissist. But it also causes them to wonder, if you support this one's wife, and surely you must be able to see the way that she behaves, that if you're condoning her actions, doesn't that mean that you're a narcissist also? Well, before I address that particularly useful question, it's worth pointing out that I undertake this work for a multiplicity of reasons, and one of them is to correct people's misunderstandings about narcissism and psychopathy. You see, that actually threatens my need for control when I read or watch people talking about narcissism and they get it wrong. The reason this happens is, first of all, there are many people that want to talk about narcissism but don't actually have any actual insight in relation to it. Others have experienced an entanglement with a narcissist and want to share it, but their understanding of narcissism has come from a variety of different places, where all they're simply doing is regurgitating existing myths and misunderstandings about narcissists and not adding anything useful. Given what I am, and my manner of delivery, I've been able to help so many people understand what narcissism actually is, what it involves, the dynamic, the impact upon victims, and how you can protect yourself. I have seen repeated instances of people either talking about narcissism, getting it completely wrong, missing information out, getting certain aspects of it incorrect, and it behooves me to correct those errors. In some instances, it's simply people are labouring under a misunderstanding because they haven't come across my work yet, and therefore they haven't grasped that full understanding. There are many people that are now understanding that this one's wife is a narcissist, but even so, they don't quite get it right in terms of understanding what does that mean. What does that mean in relation to her behaviours? And therefore, as part of me providing education about narcissism, from time to time, I will take these instances of people labouring under honest mistakes and correcting them so that they gain proper understanding, that they don't continue to be operating from a position where they're not getting it right, and that it brings clarity to their understanding of the situation. I use this one's wife because not only is she a fantastic example of narcissism in action, but there's lots of people who are interested in her, and therefore it makes perfect sense that I will keep using her as an example because it allows me to reach lots and lots of people. That means my legacy is extended, but also it allows far more people to understand not only about why this one's wife behaves the way that she does, but also about narcissism generally. I've had many people contact me explaining that they didn't know anything about narcissism until they started my This One's Wife work, and then they realised that they were married to a narcissist, or they had a narcissist at work or in their family. And therefore that's excellent news for me because it demonstrates that the utilisation of This One's Wife has proven beneficial in extending my reach to those individuals. They then gain proper insight as to what it is to be involved with a narcissist and how that functions and operates. I'm able to clarify what narcissism truly is and how it impacts upon people. I can get rid of the misunderstandings. And for instance, I saw a misunderstanding only recently. This was on the subreddit, Saint This One's Wife, where there is detailed and involved debate amongst a group of people that are clearly disapproving of this one's wife, and with good reason. They like to analyse and investigate and have the back and forth discussing the various behaviours of her, and one can see an increasing recognition that she is a narcissist. Indeed, there are many people that post who have experienced being involved in a narcissist themselves. However, I did notice that there were a couple of misunderstandings in a recent exchange, and I thought it would be helpful to address that because I've also seen it elsewhere. An individual called On the Way to You wrote, "She is so unlikable. I am so confused why many people like her." Completely fair observation. Reasonable Insect 967 responds, "I guess it's because they are quite narcissists themselves, and the bagging of an actual prince has impressed them. They both really are a tragedy and a comedy. They had it all, and now she's trying to sell decanted jam from who knows where into keepsake packaging and her own stupid jars like the pretzels. Oh, and dead flower petals to chuck over food platters. Where's their service is universal charity work? Pair of fucking grifters." Professional Ruin responds, "Narcissists support each other. It's part of normalizing their abuse." Well, Reasonable Insect thinks that many of the supporters are quite narcissists themselves, and Professional Ruin thinks that narcissists support each other. Well, those are misunderstandings. Let's look at the supporters of this one's wife. Is it the case that if you support her, you must be a narcissist because she is? The short answer is no. First of all, it's a matter of numbers. In terms of narcissists, there are more narcissists than people realise, but they still remain in the minority. They're around about 1 in 6 of the population, which means 5/6 of the population are not narcissists. It therefore follows that if there was a straight transposition of the number of narcissists in the population as large into the number of people who are narcissists that support this one's wife, the vast majority would not be narcissists. Aha, I hear you say, but might it be, HG, that because she is a narcissist, she will attract more narcissists? As, after all, Professional Ruin wrote, narcissists support each other. Well, actually, in the main, they do not. Why? Well, first of all, most narcissists don't know that they are narcissists. The vast majority are unaware. Furthermore, what is central to the existence of the narcissist? That's right, the pursuit of the prime aims, which means controlling people, nullifying threats to control, maintaining control, drawing fuel, taking character traits, obtaining those residual benefits. What does all of that mean? It means putting the narcissist first. Therefore, supporting other people is the antithesis of the existence of the narcissist. Yes, there'll be instances where a narcissist behaves in a supporting way, but it's only to get to the prime aims. More usually, the narcissist will not support people because it isn't worth their while. Their resources are better used on themselves rather than others. And therefore, it is not the case at all that narcissists support each other. There are some instances of narcissistic cementation, watch my video of that name, where two narcissists work together, but they only do so because it serves their own purposes. There's no altruism when it comes to a narcissist. Narcissists don't recognize other narcissists, and therefore, how could they therefore support another narcissist if they don't recognize that they themselves are one, and they often don't recognize that other people are narcissists. Indeed, where a narcissist does recognize somebody as a narcissist, they often do it in respect of people who aren't. It's commonly the case that the empathic victim is branded a narcissist by the actual narcissist. Sometimes an actual narcissist will recognize another narcissist, but because the first narcissist doesn't recognize that they are one, they will react badly towards the identified narcissist because it's seen as stigmatic, and therefore they're not going to support that narcissist. On the contrary, they're more likely to criticize them, ostracize them, believe that they should apply no contact to them. Furthermore, it isn't part of normalizing their abuse because most narcissists don't recognize that they are abusive. their narcissism stops them from doing so. They either don't recognize that they've done anything wrong, or where they do know that they've done something which is regarded as wrong or unpleasant, they don't see it as abuse, they see it as defending themselves, because they are the eternal victim. So similarly with this one's wife, she doesn't see that she's abusive. She simply corrects people. She's not here to mollycoddle people. That if they can't deal with a strong, empowered, direct woman, that's their problem. She doesn't see that she's a bully. Her narcissism blinds her to that abusive behaviour. Accordingly, what that then means is that other narcissists don't actually recognise what they are. They don't see that they're abusive. Therefore, they can't normalise their abuse through supporting another narcissist. They just don't see themselves as abusive to begin with. It's not a case of normalising it. Thus, it isn't the case, on the whole, that narcissists support each other for the reasons that I've articulated. It isn't part of normalising their abuse. And it isn't the case that most of this one's wife supporters are narcissists. Undoubtedly, there will be some in there. And it might be that there is a higher proportion than usual. We don't have any survey that's been undertaken, and nor would there ever be one. Why is it then that people might think that that's the case? Well, it's because so many of her supporters, one, fail to recognise what she is, and two, often behave in an unpleasant manner towards other people. But I've explained elsewhere why that is. They don't see her as a narcissist because they have already formed a view based upon their own hopes and desires, whereby they essentially piggyback her. She's a poster girl for their own achievements. And Reasonable Insect is correct in stating that they have been impressed by the bagging of an actual prince. In a sense, they think, if she could do it, so could I. And therefore, they look upon her in a favourable fashion. As I've explained elsewhere, they live vicariously through this one's wife, and that's why they support her. It engenders a sense of loyalty to her. And therefore, when people criticise her, the low cognitive function of many of her supporters translates that criticism into being seen as hatred, and therefore their response is that they lash out at those that criticise this one's wife, making them look unpleasant. Their responses are harsh, they are nasty, they fail to have regard to the evidence. Indeed, in some instances, they go so far as to conduct campaigns against people, looking to get them into trouble with the authorities and doxing them. It's not just narcissists that would behave that way, normals would as well. This is because they have no emotional empathy or limited emotional empathy for a stranger on the internet. Throw into the mix as well the fact that that stranger is attacking their hero, their princess. That causes them to then react in a way whereby their more narcissistic traits come to the fore. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily narcissists. True, this one's wife will have narcissists amongst her supporters. Indeed, some of her lieutenants that I've identified are narcissists. But the bulk of her supporters are not narcissists. They will simply be normals who have limited emotional empathy for strangers on the internet, and then, because their various hopes and dreams have been positioned with this one's wife, that they have been impressed by her bagging of a prince, that whenever anybody attacks her, they react in a vitriolic, unpleasant and nasty fashion, because there's no emotional empathy keeping them intact, and their loyalty to this one's wife spurs them to lash out at anybody that criticises her, giving the impression of the behaviour of a narcissist, but what you're actually seeing is a normal person with no or limited emotional empathy towards that stranger on the internet, behaving reprehensibly towards them. Some of this one's wife supporters are narcissists. Statistically, that has to be right, and I'm sure if we looked further, we would be able to identify certain movers amongst the sugars that would fit the definition of narcissists. But similarly, statistically speaking, the vast majority of her supporters can't be narcissists, because there just simply aren't enough in the world to fit that categorization, and that Their behaviours are easily explained as a consequence of the fact that they don't care about people that they don't know on the internet, and their views become skewed by their slavish and blind loyalty to this one's wife. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.